record. I just turned it on.
Okay, and this presentation will later be given to all the participants because it's on the link, right?
That's the plan. That's the plan, Netta. We have everything will get shared with everybody. Okay.
That's great.
All right.
Okay.
So, Netta, would you like to introduce yourself?
Are we beginning now? Or are we waiting to see if anybody else will join?
Well, numbers have stopped moving. We'll wait another couple of seconds. Okay.
Great. Great. And
so, Netta, you're going to have 20 minutes to speak, but then there'll be enough time for 5 minutes for questions at the end.
Definitely. Okay.
What I'd like to just say to everybody here is please don't ask questions in the middle like the rest of our Zoomers. We always request you to either write your questions in the chat, and between Zimrat and myself, we'll keep a running check of them as we go along. But we'll ask Netta any questions at the end. So either write it in the chat or just jot it down for yourself. And then we'll give 5 minutes at least at the end. Okay, Netta, if you want a bit more time at the end, that's fine as well. Okay, Judy will call us back automatically in what will have been half an hour. So I think you should get started. The numbers have stabilized now. Nobody's moving and we're already recording. So over to you, Netta. Please introduce yourself to everybody and let's go.
Okay, before I begin, I advise everybody to move the Zoom screen down so you can see all of the screen, all of the presentation, and not have the right side blocked off by the Zoom. Well, I'm Netta Goldman. I've been teaching English for many, many years. I'm already semi-retired, and I'd like to share a program that I've developed many, many years ago and redeveloped, and I'm now working on preparing it for packaging and presentation and distribution, which I'm still working out the details of. This all began when I was first teaching. I had a student who completely destroyed my lesson in the 5th grade at the beginning of the year. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I said to the student by name, please wait for me by the teacher's room. We'll talk about this later. When I got to the teacher's room, for some reason, I had the presence of mind to ask him what had gone on and not go into a tyrant of being an angry teacher. And he said, I hate English. I said, you're in the 5th grade. What could have happened to make you hate English? How much English did you have? And he said, well, last year, the teacher taught everybody how to read and I don't know how to read. And so I hate English because she used to ask me what was written down and I never knew. And I understood a whole lot from this kid. First of all, I understood something about classroom psychology. Kids would rather be in control of the situation, and have you become angry with them because they destroyed your lesson is having them in control of the situation and feeling like an idiot because they don't know how to do the work that you're asking them to do makes them very, very upset. So I learned that from this kid. But on the other hand, I was trying to figure out exactly what went wrong. And so with the kid, I made an agreement. I said, listen, I'm not going to call on you for any reason. I'm not going to ask you to do anything. Please, you're going to have to wave really hard if you ever want to say anything in class, because I'll be used to not looking at you at that point. Secondly, I'll find a way to teach you how to read. And thirdly, the only thing I ask for you from you is not to destroy my lessons. And he held up his end of the bargain. I had to hold up my end of the bargain. So I tried to figure out exactly what went wrong. And I realized it was my job to teach him how to read because he wanted to know. So I was trying to analyze what happened with reading. And I realized that I was giving him a page with letters on it, with words on it, and expecting him to come out with a corresponding sound. And there was no way that he knew exactly what sound comes out with what letters. Somehow I had to staple the sound onto the letter the way it was being presented, because A is for apple doesn't work. Somehow I had to do it the opposite way around. I had to create apple is for A, or some way of writing the sound and focusing in the letter. That's the way people know how to understand anything that comes visually. And we do understand pictograms because that's the way we're built. When we see a symbol of, let's say, a like, we know it means like, even though all we see is a hand with a thumb up. This is the way we work. And this is the way writing developed to begin with. Reading and writing developed, first of all, writing developed, and then somebody read what was written by somebody making a picture on a caveman wall. And the picture slowly but surely lost its details, but the meaning remained. And that's the way we should be teaching reading and writing. So I discovered that I had to turn every single letter into a pictogram for the kids to be able to learn. And that's what I did. I work, and I've seen other programs, and I've never seen anything else that works exactly this way. I made the program out of Hebrew. If anybody would like to invest the time to work on a program for Arabic, I'm open to that. Just to give everybody an example of how this works, this is the Caveman Aluf, which later became the Egyptian and the Phoenician Aleph, which was the head of cattle, which was the bull that was a part of the head of cattle, the main one. And then for some reason it became the Roman A, which is now detached from its original form. And that's why we have so many problems today. So I decided I was going back there. The method was to make the letter look like a picture with a sound associated to it. And I'll show you in a minute exactly the way I do that. We always introduce the letter with its corresponding sound, and please do not mention the names of the letters of the alphabet, because I've seen umpteen children who think that W sounds like a D because it's called a W. I don't know what they do with the word H. But the word W becomes a D if you work from the names. I work from the way the picture of the letter is created. I immediately have the kids decode, even if they only know 2 letters, and then I add each letter accordingly. If anybody wants to mix up the letters into a different system, it's okay, but always present them with words that they know all the letters to. That's kind of important. Judy was saying something about English being a tool, and this is definitely the tool. And it's a tool that will open a whole lot of other doors. The student was also talking about letting the kids fail. These particular students have had enough of that. So I never walk into a room, or I sometimes even catch the kids in the yard. I never walk with a book, because then they think, well, she has a 52-page book. She's going to want me to do all those pages. I can't do any of that. I am frustrated. And then the behavior problems take root. I never walk into class with a whole long list of stuff that has to be done. If you need a list, like tack it on the bulletin board on the other end of the room and just like reference it for yourself, but have the kid facing you. So I would never walk in with a long list. I would always present words to be read one at a time. I'd write them for the kid, either on the blackboard, in his notebook, on a blank piece of paper. But on the other hand, if you've read 10 words with the kid, then you do send him home with the list, because he's got a whole list of stuff that he's accomplished, and that feels good. I constantly reinforce, and you will know your students, because this is basically for one-on-one or for very small groups. You'll know which student needs reinforcing for which letter, and then you just repeat that again and again. And I'll show you how it works in just a minute. Every single lesson ends with what's called a student kit, which is a card with letters that the student has already learned, and that you print out ahead of time, keep it in your bag or whatever. And when he's done, you give him a card which will have what's already been done, and then he can review if he wants to. If it gets tossed in the garbage, I wouldn't make a big deal of that. So now I'd like to show you how this works. This is the P. And so I've turned the letter into something that starts with the word, with the sound of P. And immediately after showing him this card, it will no longer be on the table. But when I show the student the letter, this is the 4th letter I teach, so you'll see in the words that the student is reading that he's already seen the S, the A, the M, and then he or she gets to see the P. When they see it again, I say, what was round and had a knife next to it so that we could cut it and eat it? Yeah, that's right. It was a pizza. What letter, what sound does this picture mean? And that's the way the system works. I'm building a teacher's guide. I'm almost finished, which has pages like this with the words that I suggest that students read. There'll be a file with all of the cards, which will look like this. And so then you can either print them out or print out small ones so that you can sit at in a private lesson with a student, or leave them on online and then just project them onto the computer screen or onto the big barcode screen in your classroom. The program will also include, in the teacher's guide, it'll say student kit with the letters from, this is particularly the letters from the first lesson. And then you'll get one that doesn't have all this, that doesn't have the instructions, that you can immediately print out and give to your students, so that the students will remember the snake, the the misada, the pizza, and the tavla. So this is the way it works. And the kids, when they see the letters again in texts, they remember them, because the program staples or cues or prompts the sound from the shape of the letter. This is one of the letters from the third lesson. So you can see that there are more letters that have already been learned. You can see that the H has been turned into somebody with his hand up saying hi. And the other thing that the H will do is raise your hand in class because you think you can help. And this becomes important because the lesson after we teach the H in my program, I teach the SH, where the S is required to do another sound, and he wants help. And so when the S has the H next to him, somebody's coming to help. And if the kid knows the word help, I mentioned that help also begins with the word H. So this is a little bit further into the program. The program is built on 10 lessons, and it's usually enough. This is one towards the end where the E is an Eskimo, and after the picture disappears, because in the text, you can see that the shape of the hat and the fur around the face remains in the letter, and it remains as an association. Now, sometimes I ask the kids to read words, sometimes I ask the kids to write words. And it turns out that with the system, it's very easy for them to write, because they'll just, you sound out the words and you say, write 7, and then you go, and the kids write down the letters. And if they forget something, you remind them of the picture. And each time you go over and over this more, they know more and more letters. The student kit towards the end has a full alphabet with spaces where the letters we haven't done yet are mentioned. And the letters that we've just done are the E, the I, and the U in this particular slide. So that's the end of the presentation of the way the method works. I'm still looking for a catchy name for the method, so if anybody has a suggestion, I'd be very happy to hear if you have a catchy name. And after I've presented this system, I would be happy to hear from anybody who would like to learn more about it. And now I think we go to the questions in the chat, if that's okay with everybody.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for so much insight there, Netta. I would love personally to learn more about this. It sounds incredible and very, very hands-on and practical, which is what most teachers want. I'm looking at the questions that we have now. So the main question that we have here is, how can I get hold of this materials? And
I want it.
And I want it, and how do I get hold of it? I'm prepared to pay for it, is what the word
Me
out
too.
there is.
Me too.
So would you like to
I'm
share
also
with
very
us
interested
maybe just where you're up to in
the program,
sharing it and the process, and maybe we could be your pilot, just
Okay.
offering there.
First of all, if the students are now on holiday, then we would do it next year by the 1st of September. everything will be ready. I think by the end of the week, I'll have the teacher's guide finished and all of the files with all of the materials ready for distribution. I'm still working on the business of how to get paid, because at least even a symbolic kind of payment is necessary for me to open up a business, because I have to be insured. Wandering around in schools, I can't do it unless I'm like being paid something by whoever it is runs the school, because if not, I'm not insured. Like
Netta, you don't have to just be paid something. You need to be paid. Like, this is an amazing method. And it's really something that we need, because I've got tons of kids who don't know how to read properly. And I would love to have this, and I'd love to pay, you know, what you need to be paid. You don't need to take a little bit of money because lo na'im lach. You really need to get paid properly.
Well, I definitely need to be paid something because of the insurance problem, but yes, I'm pleased that you like it. Because I'm semi-retired and I see retirement like you don't need a binoculars anymore to see it. I'm a little older than I look. I really want to get it out there, because from my experience, it's going to save a whole lot of kids a whole lot of heartache.
Can I ask a question about
Yeah, please go ahead, Sarah.
How do you teach like the different sounds for the different like for A and all the vowel sounds? They have a long sound and a short sound. How do you teach that?
Well, the method has 10 lessons. The short sounds come in vowel by vowel. The A's in the first lesson, I tell them it's like A for ein, and I show them a vowel face, which has the A on the ein, where the I is. And I say for the first 2 lessons, the only vowel we're going to read is A. So every time you see this, this is the A, just like you did in Kita Aleph when you were learning Hebrew, Dana Kama. It's very built on Hebrew. So if I ever find a friend who is an Arabic speaker where the kids come from L1 Arabic, this has to be redone, because the method is fine, but all of the tools, all of the keys, most of them have to be changed, because an Eskimo will probably be still an Eskimo in Arabic, but a Misada will probably not be with an M. And you're not allowed to use the word McDonald's because it's their trademark. Yes, it's all prepared. The vowels come in letter by letter. The first one is A. In the 3rd lesson, we bring in the short O. I think it's the 4th lesson where the double O comes in, which are the eyes of a ghost going ooh at you. And then afterwards, the E and the I will come in, the short U. All of the long vowels come in one lesson at the end, where I teach them the fact that vowels, when they're together, make more noise, and then they use the stronger sound. And that's the point where I teach the names of the letters. So I don't get stuck with kids thinking a W sounds like a D because it's called a W, and I don't know what they do with H.
There's another question here. What age is it this aimed at? From your experience, which did you?
I've done it in classroom frameworks in the 4th grade, and then I don't lose my my learning disability kids. So I've just taught the whole class this method by putting the pictures on the board, and the kids bring in colors and they draw their own pictures in their notebooks. And the kids that pick up everything, no matter what the teacher does, pick it up anyway. And the kids that are LD manage to pick up reading with their friends. So it's really nice. I've worked with learning disability students from the 5th grade when they're 1 year behind. I've taught high school students who've been like no place for 4 or 5 years to read this method in 2 weeks in the 10th grade. And they can do basic decoding. There are always going to be irregular forms in English. There's nothing we can do about that. That's the way the language was built. Somebody can complain to the Queen. I think she's too old to deal with it.
Can I ask a question about the 10th graders?
But I've given it to 10th graders and it works. The pictures have to go away really quickly. The minute the association is in their brain, it's got to be off the board. It's got to disappear. Like, you don't keep on with this picture of a pizza. They've seen it once, it's in their brains, the picture has to go and the letter has to remain.
My fear is it's a bit, isn't it like, I feel like it might be, they might find it a bit too childish. Like if they're in the 10th grade and they might react negatively to it. In your experiences, does that happen?
I've had kids that come from a Haredi school that never spoke or studied English at all. The thing is that you only use the picture for, like, with the older students, for a nanosecond. You're immediately showing them the shape of the letter, which they're going to see in texts, including the Wall Street Journal. You know, that remains forever. You just have to turn it into a sound that's so attached to the form, to the grapheme, that the connection between the two will never break. And that's the use of the picture. And it's just there for a second. It's just there to build that bridge. The minute you're done building the bridge, it has to be gone. Because if not, then it is, you're correct. If you keep on coming with your pizza for 2 weeks at a time, you're being condescending.
So
It has
what's
to be
the
there for, like,
next, I'd like to, like, what's the next stage besides the words that you have in the materials? You showed a lot of words with combinations of letters. Like, are there texts afterwards, or is just the method of learning the letter and the sound? And then they're able to make the jump to a regular textbook.
What I've done at the end is written a recommendation that after doing these 10 lessons, the kids have a notebook for crazy words. It's called a crazy word notebook, and there they'll write down the words like laugh that have absolutely no connection to what appears on the page. If the kids have the vocabulary, you can immediately go into texts. If, of course, they don't have the vocabulary, you have to give them a huge long page of cognates, one piece at a time, not to give them the page. You have to be prepared with, like, the radio, the giraffe, the gorilla, the spaghetti, all these words, so that there's meaning in their reading. Immediately after they know the words, the letters, and they can decode, you have to move into meaning. And at the same time, you have to teach vocabulary, because the basic of language is spoken language is vocabulary, and written language, the decoding is a tool to get to the vocabulary. So this is just a tool. It's not a language. It's a tool for teaching the decoding, which is also a tool.
Okay, so there's
how do we get in contact with you for this? I mean, how will you know to whom to send this?
Well, because this presentation ends with this slide that you can see right now with my picture, so you'll remember who I am, and my email and my WhatsApp and my telephone, then you just, if you want to open up the presentation that's on the Read Day link, the Read Day, whatever it is, the presentation, Genial link, go into my presentation, and there you've got the contact information. And after I sort out this business with how much money to take and how to open up a business, I should be done with that at the beginning of the summer. Then if you want me to come to your school to visit you on a teacher's day, on a day when you have a staff meeting, or do you want to set up a Zoom meeting and then I send you all the information by internet? Both are perfectly possible. If you want to find a student who is willing to be test case for this, then I will have to come and do like 2 or 3 lessons with the student, send them out to have coffee or whatever between, and then you can see it in action if one of your students is willing to test it out.
Netta, there's a question here from somebody that asks, and you don't have to answer all of it because it's maybe complicated, but please could you explain the order that you teach the letters, and does it matter? I think maybe you want to start at the end before you, the end part of, like, the order of the letters, how you teach them, is that part of the program?
Okay, one of the things that I mentioned, can you still see the presentation? Is everybody?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. You see that when I introduced the P, I've only written words that use the letters that have come beforehand. I tried to get the more common letters done at the beginning, like Q comes at the end. Bo, if you never use the Q, you could probably read 98% of texts in English without knowing that the Q exists. So it comes at the end. The same with the J, the K, and the Z. They come towards the end. The letters that I've used at the beginning are the letters that are more common. You can see here, this is the first lesson up to the end of the T, what we just saw beforehand. From the X to the D are the second letter, the second lesson. And then we have a nice variety of letters to build up lots of words with A. And that's when I introduced the second vowel, the O. Vowels are more difficult than the consonants. So I put in many more consonants before the vowels. And like the E, the I, and the U come towards the end when we have almost all the consonants in. So there is a logic in the way I built the teacher's guide. But of course, as I said beforehand, if you want to use another order, you just have to change the words that you're asking the kids to read to make sure that you're only using words that have letters that they've already seen. You know, please do not discourage these kids. Like what Judy said about letting kids fail, these kids have done that. They've already had enough of that. They don't need to fail anymore. They need to succeed. And so that's what the system is trying to do. Let's see if there's any other questions that we haven't answered.
Can you please show again your telephone number and your email?
Okay, let me come to the end. There
Where
you
do you
go.
live, Netta?
Where do I live? This is one of the more complicated questions. I know that sounded very stupid, but in any case, let's go up and see if there are any others. Okay, here there is. Hi, okay. Most letters have more than one sound. Let me say something about that. You're absolutely correct. Do you see here between the F and the H, there are two spaces. The only letter that comes between F and H are G, because G will have two different issues. And if you see after the C, before the D, I have to move this, right? You see before the D, between the C and the D, there's no letter between the C and the D, but there is a space here, because in one of the lessons that'll come after this particular student kit, there will be the second sound of the C. And that's why there are two of them here, okay? And if you notice, there's the S, and between the S and the T, there's no letter, but I have an SH. I also have a place for the U next to the O, because all of these are issues that I deal with in the program. So that's
What
okay.
about CH?
CH comes in the lesson where we learn about the SH, because the H is going to help everybody make a second sound. So what does it do with the T? It makes the TH. What does it do with the P? It makes the F sound. I even mentioned that when it comes with the G, it makes the sound of ch, which we don't have in English anymore. So when you see that, you just ignore it. But that's when we learn about the helpful H that has his hand up to help everybody that needs any help making a second sound.
And Netta, I have a question.
Yeah.
You exposed them to many letters in one lesson. It's not too much for them. You exposed them to at least 10. I think I didn't count them, but I think it's about 10 letters. It's not too much in one lesson.
It's no more than 6. And
6.
usually-
Okay.
And
Okay.
usually fewer. And if it's 6, at least 2 of them will be the same association. Like you'll see in the lesson with the X and the V, it's an association of teacher symbols. They know X and they know V because teachers make those symbols in their other subjects. And so they very conveniently have taught the kids those two letters without bothering us in English.
Okay.
Javi Cohen from Crispin.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey. Good one. Yeah. We'll
Okay,
talk. We'll talk on the phone.
The story with this kid from Kita Hey was in Bet Sefer Golan. That I said at the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you,
Netta,
Orit.
Netta, does the system review the letters as you're going in terms of like the letters in the words that are presented in a new lesson?
Every lesson will say go over the letters from beforehand, which means you just point at them at the top of the page or you write them down and the kid says the sound. And if there's anything the kid doesn't remember, then you remind him, like, look at this again. It's a C. You want to say kaf hafucha because that's exactly what the C is. It's a k the other way around because in Hebrew it's just the other way around. And you say, all right, all right, kaf.
But in terms of
okay,
reading, but in the terms of reading, do you add, you keep adding letters and the words become, you know, all the letters are incorporated and all the words that you present from previous lessons?
I'm going back a minute. Here, can you see this one? The letters that the kids are writing here, you see there's a lot of E's in them because they're learning the E in this particular lesson, but it's after they've had the J, the Q, the L. And so all of the letters that they've had, all the way back to the S, which is the first one, are incorporated in the words that they're learning in the next lesson. And if they learn in this particular lesson, they learn 3 letters, then they'll find that they're using the 15 or so that they already know.
How can we get this kit?
First of all, I'm working that out. I've been really busy towards the end of the year. Ever since Judy told me that I was going to present today, I was preparing a presentation. I'm going to work on that this week, and next week I'm going to figure out exactly how I'm going to market it and how I'm going to send it out. I'm going to now deal with the where do you live, Netta, if there are no other questions.
Thank you.
Okay. So Riva, my children grew up and left home, and I discovered I was left with a 6-room empty apartment with a whole lot of junk in it. And I was like the storeroom for everybody's stuff. So I told everybody to take their stuff. I threw out the junk. I donated everything that was useless, and I moved into an RV. So wherever I particularly plan to live on that particular day, it's doable. So if you want me to present my program to your staff via Zoom, then it doesn't matter. But if like 2 or 3 schools in the same area will collect like one after the other, or we'll get together in one of the schools, then I can go down and do that to wherever it happens to be. Right now I'm parked in the area of Akonaria because I also work in the Ghetto Fighters House, which is in Lochmegetot.
Wow. Amazing. But you're welcome to park your RV in my neighborhood with pleasure.
Where's that?
For Saba or in Ranana.
Okay.
Okay. And I definitely will talk with you and we will schedule something, God willing. Your program looks amazing.
Me too.
So Netta, Judy's going to call us back any second, and we will just be zoomed back in. So I would like to say on behalf of everybody here, thank you so much. That was very enlightening. And I think like there's about almost 40 of us here who can't wait to get our hands on, there's doubles in some places, who can't wait to get their hands on your materials. So we're really looking forward to that. And just be in touch with us, and we'll all be in touch with you as to how to move on next. Thank you so much.
Thank
I think
you,
everybody want to
Netta.
open your mics and just say a huge thank you. For that.
Thank you too,
Thank you,
Haley, for managing all of this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Netta. Thanks
Netta,
for the
thank you so
opportunity.
much.
so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you all for attending my presentation.
No, it was great. Thank you, Netta.
Excellent.
Really
Great.
wonderful.
Excellent.
Inspiring.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go back to the main room. You have literally 2 seconds to grab the quickest, smallest cup of coffee you have time to make. And we will see you back in the main room, and then you will look as to where to go next. There are some videos to watch in between. So we'll see you all back there, and Zimrat, you'll stop recording, yeah, please.